Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Masked Boomers. I'm Ward,
I'm still ice cream soda.
and we are, back to answer some more questions. We appreciate your tuning in, and look forward to whatever the day has in store for us. How was your week, ice cream soda?
I was busy, busier than usual.
What'd you
Few,
do?
few social things and some painting projects and cleaning. You know,
Yeah,
getting ready for the spring.
that's true. That's true. I had well, doctor's appointments. Doctor's
Yeah.
appointments
Oh,
was a
that's
big
right.
one for
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Yeah, I got some new medicine. Yes, indeedy.
Yep.
And then working on a farm. I have say farm. Yeah, a friend of mine who has a rescue farm. Uh, I help him out from time to time. So we had to move some railroad ties because he's building some pads for like a camper. So that's heavy work, but it's fun. And then what else? What else? Oh, putting on some doors in the house projects.
Yeah. House projects.
Getting ready for spring and summer. Taking advantage of the fact that the daylight gives us that daylight savings time. We get that extra hour, so that helps. And but apart from that,
Yeah.
that's
Now,
the easy part.
did they pass the daylight savings time thing to
I
not
think
do it anymore?
I think the Senate did. I don't know if the other
Well,
chamber did,
of course,
but
that's such trivial news
well, you know
compared
what
to
though,
what's in the news.
you know what well, hold both those thoughts. The I saw something that, of course, you'd know this. Some sleep experts are already, going on and on about how I guess that might cause some problems. I haven't read it, so I have no idea what they're talking about. I presume that could very easily be true because the natural predisposition has always been on the normal cycle. I mean, the thing that was invented by people was daylight savings time. So who
So
knows?
this isn't the regular time used to be what we just
That's
sprung
correct.
forward
That
from.
was that's right. That was standard time. We're on
So
daylight savings time now. So some sleep experts are saying they're not quite sure if that's a good thing, a bad thing. I have no idea why.
that maybe we should have stayed on the other cycle.
Yeah, so that's one aspect of it. But other than that, just all the continual getting pummeled by all the crap that's going on.
Yeah,
It's just
it's hard to
wears
listen to.
yeah, it just wears you down. It just wears you down. And and again it's getting harder and harder and harder to believe anybody. And I mean anybody, you know.
Well, one thing I don't have any problem believing is they've already lost billions of aid money that have been sent to the Ukraine. Nobody knows what happened to it.
It's probably at
So that I kind
Hunter's
of,
house.
yeah, no, that I kind of get, and those are the things that I do believe that the money that's sent in there is not getting to the people that need it.
Well, what was the old thing from the economist out there, Milton Friedman, talked about, the whole thing of government spending, which is other people taking other people's money to spend on other people on other things. There's zero accountability. I mean, think of if you just think even in terms of the Ukraine, giving them aid. All right, give us weapons, give us weapons. Okay, there's $80 billion worth sitting in Afghanistan because we left it behind.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I mean but nobody gives any of that stuff a thought. It's just. But they're all getting
You don't
somehow
see,
they're all getting wealthy. It's just stunning. How brilliant their business minds must be. That Joe has been a senator for 50 years before being president, always on the wrong side of any policy decision, but he's now a wealthy man, as is his cocaine addict son who got tossed out of the military. It's a problem.
oh, I did see that the New York Times has finally said that the laptop of Hunter Biden is on the up and up.
Oh, it's legitimate. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess the guy who owned the shop has been is running for his
his
life
Mm.
because of because of all the stuff, because he turned it in, after having seen the contents, because he found it so disturbing. He says, I got to give this to somebody. And that's kind of what set that whole thing in motion. But the other thing is that, here you've got this, and we still got all the stuff going on with the oil. Everything's Putin's fault. Everything's Putin's fault.
First, it was COVID.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole point. I mean, for the past 2 years, that was responsible for everything. Now, miraculously, everything, including the stuff that's gone wrong for the past year, somehow it's all Putin's fault. I mean, don't misunderstand. I mean, I don't, I'm not on board with the Ukraine thing, but because it's always innocent civilians that pay the price. But the situation here at home, when you cut off all your own oil supply, we were energy independent. Now we have to buy it. I mean, when you got places like Venezuela who said, no, we're not going to help you, go pound sand. It kind of tells you what incredibly insightful leadership we have at the top of this country right now. It's pretty poor.
Well,
pretty poor.
Never mind that. Why are we so concerned as a country and spending money on another country's borders and not our own?
That's a good question. Too bad nobody wants to answer it.
Nobody will answer that question.
Nobody wants to answer it.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess the only hope is that they will continue to do these stupid things, and the citizenry continues to get increasingly upset, so that hopefully in November, in the midterms, there's a huge change in the people that are there everywhere. Yeah. Because if that doesn't happen, I have to tell you, I'm real glad I'm my age and not the age of our kids, because they're going to be living in a different world. So other than that, kind of been depressing, know. It weighs you down.
The news has not been uplifting.
Here you go. What is your take on the COVID vaccine and the last 2 years of media coverage surrounding it? Why don't you go ahead and start that one?
I can go on this one.
Go. Hot button. They finally found the ice cream soda's hot button.
Once again, the media has done a huge job in covering up anything that is true, as far as I am concerned. They do not report accurately on the vaccine, and there's as many people still getting COVID who are vaccinated and triple vaccinated as people who are not vaccinated.
Well, in fact, haven't they said that most of the cases of the past 6 months, which is why we don't hear about them, are all what they call breakthrough cases? It is not any longer a COVID of the unvaccinated, pandemic of it's the pandemic of the vaccinated. They seem to be getting it more because
they've been dishonest about the reactions to the vaccine. We've gotten no reporting on that, so you can't even make a educated opinion for yourself, because as to whether you even want to take it or not, because you don't know the side effects of taking the vaccine versus not taking it, because there are side effects for some people.
I don't know how many people out there read different places, but the thing that really over the past several months, I mean, the number of particularly in Europe, the number of professional soccer players, like in their 20s and 30s, who have died, who have had heart, whether myocarditis or pericarditis, have inflammation of the heart, have suffered things, endurance athletes who, after having gotten a shot, and these are people that have no chance of getting seriously ill. Their bodies could fight it off, and they end up, guys are saying, I can no longer do my professional sport. I've lost 30% of my endurance capability, and not that it happened here, but we've got someone in the neighborhood who had it, and they have
affected by
extreme heart issues now, and lung issues.
Now they're older,
but he's younger than we are.
Yes, but
it happened right after the vaccine.
Yeah. Never mind. There's not been anywhere near the amount of research and testing that normal vaccines have been required to have, and young people, children especially, are the least that need this, and yet they're pushing it constantly on school-age children now.
So when you say what's our take on it, I think this thing is more insidious than we can imagine, and
Yeah.
that this is absolutely part of the elites using it to control. I mean, they've controlled virtually the whole planet, and because of all the emergency powers that everybody has
Issues.
assumed,
Yeah.
they're now all dictatorships. There's no free societies anymore where this thing is has been spawned, and where they use it, and the lockdowns, and they're continuing to do it. And there's, particularly in this country, you've got governors who say, no, I'm going to keep my emergency powers. Well, what is that? Means they just want to continue to be dictators and tell people what to do, and the media doesn't talk about it at
Oh,
all.
but when they did, that everything was, oh, you've got to do this. You've got to.
Or remember how good Cuomo was?
Oh yeah, yeah, he was a gem.
And in fact, I read yesterday that there were 4,100 additional COVID deaths at nursing homes that he covered up, didn't report. But don't worry, because he's considering running for governor again, so they can have him back if they
Wow,
want.
they're ridiculous if they vote for him.
Yeah.
What was? Oh, and the other thing was the whole mask thing. That's another thing. They didn't do anything. Most of the masks that people were wearing did absolutely nothing to prevent the spread of it.
Well, the best quote I heard over the past few weeks is now all the Democratic states are saying there's no more mask mandates. That's because they see what's happening to them in the polls. They're going to get crushed. And DeSantis had a great comment on it. He said the science hasn't changed, the medical science hasn't changed, the political science has changed, and that's exactly what
Of which
that's
none of these
exactly what
people
it
have
is.
medical degrees, so
No. I mean, they again, they're using it for other purposes, and so yeah, we're fed up with
yeah,
COVID, and we are fed up with the lying
lies.
reporting that we all get, and that comes from both sides to a degree,
And
to
the
be
fact that
honest.
people who have incredible background degrees in studying all of this stuff are suppressed.
Well, the frontline doctors, those guys from Stanford and other places, like 400 doctors, and they suppressed everything that they
Everything that
said.
they found
That
out.
was months and months ago. And then Malone, the guy who's invented the delivery system that has to do with the proteins and how it works, he has said you shouldn't take this. Don't take this. And then something more personal. Some friends of ours who have a friend who is involved deep. The guy last night we were talking with at dinner. The guy is deeply involved, and
Oh,
he has told our friends. I'm not going to use any names
no,
on this stuff,
obviously no.
but this guy is deeply involved in the military, industrial, and intelligence complex of the United States, and he is living a very innocuous hippie lifestyle. And he's the government basically said this one guy doesn't have to get a vaccination because he said, if you make me get it, I'm leaving, and I know too much. And he's telling
With how
people
much
don't. He's
information.
telling people don't get it. Don't get it.
I think we're going to be very disappointed when a few more years when stuff really starts to pour out about the truth behind all of this,
Yeah.
and we are going to be shocked and very
Well,
disappointed with our
some of
government.
us are gonna be more shocked than others.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yes, we got it basically in order to be able to visit with grandchildren because the mothers were upset about the kids being exposed to something if we had not been. We did not, however, go with the Moderna or the Pfizer. We had the one time and done
Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson,
Yeah.
which they've been very strangely quiet about. I know they had some issues,
Yeah.
but
They all have.
not yeah, but they all have. So
Any side effects?
none that I haven't recovered from.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should tell my story because I don't know. I'm not
That's
saying
true.
it was from
That's
that.
true.
I'm not saying
you
that.
should tell your story.
We got our vaccines a year ago, April.
No, March. It's March.
So it's been a year.
Yeah.
And with other things that I've got going on with some surgeries that I had, like a knee replacement stuff, you always have to get clearance from a cardiologist before you go into a surgery. That's just part of the new, the insurance protocols that you have to follow. And so I had up until 6 weeks or 4 weeks ago, I'd probably had 2 or 3 EKGs done in the past year and a half. And all of those, there's one thing that's I've had my whole life, which is a no big deal, a heart thing. It shows up, but they know what it is.
Murmur.
And yeah, it's something like that. It's called a bundle block, whatever that is.
It is.
And but nothing else. And so I have the vaccine, and now I go for an EKG because I've got another procedure coming up in April. And lo and behold, they said, "Hey, you have atrial fibrillation." What are you talking about? And so they said, "Well, your heart's not firing the right way. The electrical signal's messed up." And so I'm in layman's terms, I guess. And so I go back in. So they want to do an echocardiogram, which is basically an ultrasound of your heart, and it'll take a picture and show what's going on. And they found out that my heart was inflamed on the bottom. The muscle looks like it's weakened a little bit. And this is something that I have never had. And I just, and I'm saying, hey, could it be? Don't know if it is or it isn't, but I'm just saying,
say it's not.
I'm not willing to say that it isn't. And before you just say, oh, geez, just another old person complaining about getting old. I mean, in the gym pretty regularly. I do a lot of hard physical work. We walk every day. It's this is and while what I've noticed is I start to get winded now much more rapidly than I would have. But that's it. I don't have anything else. So I'm not sure if that's part of a side effect or not. But heart issues are absolutely part of the side effects that a lot of people have experienced. So I'm not willing to say it wasn't that. But of course, no doctor is going to tell you that because they just think everybody's going to go nuts. But as a result, but anyway, so that's the deal.
We both still got
COVID. Yeah, we did.
So much for that vaccine either. So
vaccine, that's not even a good flu shot.
No, it's not effective. I don't know I mean.
I don't know that any of them are.
But the drug companies have made a lot of money.
Yeah. What was it? The Moderna, who lost money the year before, made $24 billion in profit last year. That's because the dose the government
none of these shots were free.
No,
they were free. Yeah, somebody was paying for them.
Yeah, the government using our money to pay for them.
Exactly. Taxpayers' money.
Yeah, just great stuff. It's all part of the stuff that makes us just trust our government so much. Excuse me. We wolfed down our dinner before we came in here and sat down, so you might get a little excuse me from time to time. Well,
a lot of information.
Yeah. Oh, that's a secret, huh? That's a critical secret.
No, the burping thing.
Well, that's what I mean. What's the big deal? What do you mean, a lot of information? It's not a...
I don't think anybody cares whether you had dinner before we sat down or not.
Well, I just want them to understand why that may be happening.
When we come back.
Short break, huh? Okay, well, we... Gosh, it went fast. Went fast. We're going to take a short break, get a little water.
What is the question underneath? What did each of you do for a living? Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be fun. All right, we'll see you in about 5 or 7 minutes. Thanks.
Well, we ran at the mouth. Oh, were we still?
Okay, we're back, and this is Ward and Ice Cream Soda, the masked boomers, and we're going to take a couple more questions. We took a break because this one looked like it might take a little bit of time, but it says, "What did each of you do for a living?"
Well, my primary role was a stay-at-home mom. I did go to college. I majored in physical education, got my degree, traveled to Australia to use it, but then came back.
Why did you come back?
Well, because I met you before I took my planned trip.
Intercepted you 2 weeks before you were going to the other side of the planet.
Signing on a contract to teach for another, 9 months over there since I got there in the summertime, their summer, and not long after getting married, we found out I was pregnant. So I did go on to have 5 children, so that really took up a lot of my time. I was very content to be home with my children and felt no rush to rush them into any kind of preschools or childcare. So we were not long after I'd had 3 of the children, we moved and enrolled them in Christian school, and eventually I did teach in the school, kindergarten through high school. Actually, I had to do everything for the physical education program there, and I did that after the youngest one was in the school full time. So I didn't do that before if anybody was needing to be at home. And
how long did you do that for?
Did some coaching.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were coaching then too.
Yeah. It was 5 or 6 years before I stopped. But then we were moving again. So, and the moves were generally my husband's job-related moves. So.
But you stopped working before the move. But when we had the 2 oldest in college. You worked all the way up into that period,
right? But I stopped, and that summer of the year that I stopped, we found out that's when your whole company thing changed, and not a few months later, we were planning to move.
Yep.
So it turned out that it was the right decision to stop when I did, because then the school could hire somebody starting from the very beginning of the year and not be halfway through the year and have to find somebody. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I was heavily involved also during this time with the church and church programs and women's missionary fellowships and Bible studies. So I was pretty active, even though, outside the home, even though I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
So that's, yeah.
I'm sitting here because some of the funny stuff I did, although it wasn't earning a living, although I did it while I was an adult. But I primarily earned my living as a starting out always in electronics as a sales guy, and then moved up, and into sales management. Changed some companies. I worked for. First company that I worked for that gave me a chance was a company that has since been acquired by Tyco. It was a company called AMP, and it was in connectors and things like that. And what they did is I was part of an experiment. And at the time, I was only I guess I was, 24, 25 years old. Yeah, because 23 or 24, because one of the fellows I worked with is the fellow who introduced Ice Cream Soda and I. And so I worked for them for about 4 years, and then went to work for one of my customers who happened to be Texas Instruments. And they had a similar business unit to what I was selling. So I did that, and then worked there for 7 years, and then went to work for a company in New Hampshire that was a not very large, and they were in the printed circuit board business, and they were ultimately I worked for them for 19 years. I guess that was the most fun place. That was all increasing roles of management, and ultimately was a company that was like 25 to 30 million when I started with them, and the company eventually sold, had gone public and was sold, and it was at 1.4 billion when they sold it. So that was a blast, and the group of people and folks, the best group of people I have ever professionally had the chance to be associated with. It was just it really was kind of a family place, and they were good to us,
Yes.
and and then after that was sold, I stayed in the same business, in the electronics and in printed circuit boards, and then that's really where I got a pretty significant exposure to the Far East, to China specifically, and Vietnam and Taiwan. I spent a lot of time working with companies and factories over there, because the businesses that I was in were the businesses that ultimately were the ones that were primarily lost to Asian manufacturing. So all of the places that I initially worked at, we used to manufacture everything in the States, but it is that kind of work, which are all the jobs that were shipped offshore, for the sake of profit margins. And
That's the dilemma we're in today.
and it was actually the forerunner. You could see it coming. And even back then, and this is back in the 80s, there were some in 90s pretty fierce debates within companies at senior levels about, hey, should we acquire a factory in China or in Mexico or someplace else? But that's what we were doing. Everyone was looking for low cost manufacturing. And the easiest way to do that was to set up in countries where you just weren't going to have to. You would pay a fraction of the wages that you would to American workers, and so I guess and that's that in one sense becomes just another kind of thing that the boomers fell asleep at the switch, or not fell asleep, but actually threw the switch.
Yeah.
That facilitated that kind of stuff taking place, and I always heard the same phrase from people at companies, particularly public companies, because of stockholders: shareholder value, and then it became stakeholders, and it was just all these great terms to couch that we're going to figure out a way to make a few of us rich, and and that's going to be it. And then it became, hey, let's just try to build this thing, and let's just sell it. Let's get rid of it, and we'll cash out, and we get ours, and then the rest of the people can kind of look for themselves. So anyway,
then they turned around and told everybody you can't sell your stock.
Oh yeah, they put restrictions on it.
So all these people who thought they were
had to wait, and by that time
the
stuff had tanked. Yeah, that was back. That one was back in like 2000.
Yeah, late
that
90s.
Was the .com bust.
Yep,
which some of you may remember, some of you may not.
Yeah,
when everybody thought if you had .com after it was going to be a winner, and a good many of them were, and then they started busting, and then the market went south.
People realized you didn't really own anything with those.
Well, they weren't delivering anything. They weren't making anything.
Right.
Anyway, so that's what I did. I will say, though, I enjoyed it because I never, except towards the end, I never was anchored in an office. I did have a lot of flexibility while my kids were growing up, working for the company in New Hampshire, and that was great because I could see games, I could do all those things, and I could still get my job done. It was really good because the CEO at the time, people would say, "Hey, where's John? Ah, he's probably at a game watching his kids." He says, "That's okay. I don't pay him to sit here in the office. I pay him to get the job done," which I always did. So you could still get rewarded that way for doing what you're supposed to do. That is getting the results that they needed. Anyway,
or being a sales guy in those days, that goes back to the phone conversation with the whole pay phones and having to find a lobby where you could sit. Remember those stories?
That's true. That's true. You'd have to go and where you could sit down in a hotel lobby or something where you could be comfortable and write and take notes and write them down. That's true. That's exactly right. And if you could imagine trying to find your way and calling on literally hundreds of different companies and having to find your way and didn't have.
There
was no Google Maps. There was no Waze.
Yeah,
there was
no directions to get anywhere.
No GPSs, man. You had to know where you're going or figure it out, and you had to be on time, nonetheless. So I always used to. Those used to be funny because if you traveled outside another area, before I would go and have dinner or go to my hotel, I would always make sure that I drove from the hotel I was staying at to the place I was supposed to go, no matter how far away it was, and then come back. So I knew exactly how to get there the next day so that you wouldn't end up being late. It was a different way of thinking, a different time, but it was a lot of fun for the same reason.
Yeah. Of course, again, back to the old no phone thing. He would, he would be on a trip. And he didn't have his own, he didn't have a cell phone. So I was dependent on the office being able to get a hold of him or reach him for me, or at least give me a phone number where I could reach him if there was an emergency.
Right.
Fortunately, I never really had one that I would have said was an absolute emergency. But to know that once the office was closed, you couldn't get a hold of him. And I would just have to hope that maybe you would call
you and give you the hotel number or something. Yeah, right.
Jeez.
That's true.
Gotta tell you.
That's funny.
Those were the days with no phones.
Those were the days. Yeah. Now you can't get away from them. Can you read that?
Yep. What made me
read it so people know what it is.
What made me decide to be a stay-at-home mom? Well, to me it was a priority. If you were going to have children, then you raise them. You take care of them. I enjoyed my children. I liked being at home with them. I didn't want to turn my child care over to someone else. It was important to me. To be there.
Did you, growing up, did your mother stay at home with you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She did until my junior year of high school, which was probably the worst thing she could have done. Because boy, was it easy to skip school.
Really?
And I did.
Okay.
I could tell her I didn't feel well, wait till she left, and I'd be golden to do whatever.
And there was nobody else at home?
Nope.
Then. Okay.
Nope, not then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah, you liked being a mom.
I did.
I shouldn't say liked, as if you had stopped. You still like being a mom.
Yeah,
and like being a grandmother.
Yeah, still enjoy the kids.
Do I miss anything about working? Yeah, absolutely. People. The variety of people that you work with, the different kinds of conversations. It always, and because you'd get to a certain level, it always kind of kept you grounded. It always reminded you that not everybody is in the same position that you are, whether that's a good position or a bad position. And it helped you keep perspective. But I made some great friends, wonderful friends, in the workplace, because it does breed camaraderie. One of the things that I find myself thinking about now, particularly with our kids, and particularly with the pandemic, is people who are, just on the computer, and most of their relationships are remote. I really do. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it, because I need that, the close contact. I really need to be able to look into somebody's eyes when I talk with them, and see how they're reacting, and then me. I just it's just hard to have the same depth of relationship. Yeah. It seems
Definitely
to me
not the same.
So I miss that, and but I never missed it, because people would talk about, particularly, when we had gotten to a pretty decent level of work, people say, "Oh, don't you miss people not calling you and, needing your input, or needing a decision or something from you?" I honestly could say, and maybe because I'm not an egomaniac, at least in that area. No, it never bothered me. When I was done, I was done. I mean, after 45 years, the tank was empty. And it wasn't like I retired at 55. People who retire too young, as we see it,
as we've witnessed it,
they're going to go back to work. They're going to do something. You can see that they had something left. They never should have retired. I didn't retire until the tank was empty. But I do miss people, or the variety of people. A lot of interesting folks and wonderful folks. But you find other sources.
Oh yeah,
to make those friends and other people, and that's really what you have to do. Is don't become depressed about not working. Rather,
find something
else to do. Other organizations, other people, other things to do, and get re-engaged
in different ways.
Yeah, in a different way. How do you each spend your time now? Probably just easy to recount what you do. It's
Well, it changes. You're not locked in like if you had a job, so you can pick up things and let things go. I have a morning with Bible study. I have an afternoon with a crochet group of women. We do things we make things for cancer victims, veterans, and homeless. You do things for charity groups, kind of things where you're just doing it to try and do something for other people. And then
you read a lot.
Yeah, I read a lot.
You read a couple books a week.
No, Christian books. I'm not usually secular books anymore. And projects in our neighborhood that come up, and you need people to volunteer to do it. And there's not always a lot of people that are willing to volunteer. And not everybody in our area lives year round, so it kind of always falls to the people that are living year round. So those keep you busy. And then
physical fitness.
Yep.
You spend a lot of time on that.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Yep. Try to keep my health going without having to take a lot of drugs. And and then there's the usual cleaning and cooking and shopping for food and planning meals.
Which you hate.
Yep, which I'm really tired of.
The famous question around here is, that if you get the question, "Hey, what are we having for dinner?"
Yeah,
that means we're going to buy takeout somewhere. Anyway,
not that we do that a lot, but every now and then.
Oh, and you still, where you can, even though we live in a community where they do some of the yard maintenance for you, you still like to do yard work,
trimming and
weeding. But the physical fitness thing. I play golf for this time of year now. I play golf, probably at least one day a week, usually just one. As I said before, I help a friend who has a rescue farm, and I give him some hours some hours each week. We do a lot of I've as of late, with the springtime and stuff. There's been a fair amount of projects, whether it be for the community or neighbors who need help. Where I'll do a lot of those things. I typically am one of the folks that people will call to help out because I don't mind doing it. And honestly, at you start to get to this age, the number of people you can call on sometimes that are physically able to help you do some of the stuff
right.
it gets limited.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's another reason to spend the time and energy on staying in shape so that you can help people out. And I have a men's Bible study that I go to. Sometimes I'll help out from time to time, teaching some middle school kids at Sunday school on Sundays. So and all of that stuff demands those studies
Flexibility.
demand homework too.
Yeah. But a lot of stuff that you do, you got to be flexible. You got to be
Yeah,
able to say, sure, I can drop it,
right.
whatever I'm doing and
Yeah.
come right down.
And we are also going down the road. I had a new knee put in, but we're taking up pickleball, so we'll probably start that.
Someday.
I mean, we've got the stuff, and we just had some courts refinished in our community, so it's time to start that. So and then there's always
Tennis.
with the kids.
A lot of tennis.
We've got we have still two of the five kids are about 5.5 hours north of us, and we have another one down in Atlanta, and a couple out west. So it's traveling from time to time to see each of them too. So there's actually plenty to fill your day if you desire to do stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anybody can sit around if they want, but what we haven't done is focused on like a lot of people do. If you're not doing anything that's making money or something, you're not doing anything. No, we haven't done any of that.
No.
We haven't done any of that. It's either hopefully service minded or family centered or just a good thing, a fun thing to do. What would you do differently if we could go back and do it again? And like the careers thing, would you do anything
No.
differently?
No.
Okay. I
No.
don't know that I'd change much either. I mean, not because you got it right, but because, man, you end up just, well, gee, I regret this. Yeah. Everyone makes some good decisions and bad decisions along the way. Passing thoughts on Ukraine and Russia.
Passing thoughts? It's not over yet, is it?
Go ahead.
Oh, I haven't been as tuned into some of it just because I am really questioning how much of it is propaganda and how much of it is.
Yeah. What seemed on the surface like some stuff that's pretty obvious, I'm not so sure it is so obvious.
Yeah.
The thing I do know is that regardless of why it's occurred, it's always just the poor civilians
Who pay the price.
who pay the price.
Yeah.
And I mean, and if you could isolate on either side who did that and who's responsible for it and how it came to be, boy, I tell you, those people really deserve to suffer for what they've done to these folks. And but the whole, I just don't think that we should be in another. We shouldn't get into a war over this.
No.
And I know that everyone says, "Oh, but it's for the children. It's for the children." You know what? There are so many children on so many parts of the world right now, every day, that are being killed or slaughtered or trafficked or sold.
Or just suffering.
Horrible circumstance, and we never do anything. And so now,
Now all
we've
of a
got the
sudden
Ukraine. The same people who have been lying to us for years and years. Now we're going to believe everything they say,
Right.
and we're going to get on board with that their narrative is. It just doesn't feel right. So I just don't think that we should embed ourselves in this thing. And I mean, give aid, but boy, stand off. Don't. I wouldn't get directly involved.
Yeah, help the citizens.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
There's corruption on both sides of this. Like,
oh, absolutely.
To say that anybody's innocent and that's in control of what's happening, no.
I mean, the Ukraine, historically is anything but a nice place. Granted, they've been attacked, but Ukraine has been one of the most corrupt places on the planet. That's where Hunter Biden's made his fortune. Burisma and all of these things, those are all Ukraine holdings. Remember that whole thing with Joe and the firing of the prosecutor who was going after him, or they wouldn't give him their foreign aid?
When he was the VP.
Well, yeah, But so my thing is I don't mean we should be isolationists all the time, but this is not a place. Because do I think Putin's crazy enough to go to war over some of this stuff? Yeah, I do.
He's been embarrassed.
He senses the weakness, and now they've gotten into a war where you would have thought, well, everything you hear about Russia, they're so powerful, and they have been fought to a standstill by these people.
They didn't organize very well.
Well, so I guess they're not that good militarily. That's what that means.
I guess not. Or, they only used the ones that were in that area.
Yeah, and now you get these guys who are, oh, let's go to war. We should bomb them. We should do this. Oh, man, I got to tell you, just asking for trouble. Why do they want to start World War III?
Yeah, because they think it'll boost our economy instead.
Yeah, that's
we'll
true.
Tank.
That's true.
It won't boost the middle guy, the little guys.
I'm just going back to Laffy's passing thoughts on Ukraine, and we make I don't have much to say, and then boom.
Well,
yeah, that just seemed funny to me. That's all. There's no such thing as a passing thought on Ukraine.
No, it's not.
This stuff weighs on you.
It's not a funny situation. It's depressing.
Well, when you don't, and honestly, when you are retired, when you're not working, and there's a bit more. You're a bit more thoughtful, and there's a bit more time to contemplate some of what's going on in the world. You really have to be careful because it can really weigh you down. One of the things, and maybe none of you hopefully have ever experienced it, and hopefully you never will. But boy, when you go to the doctors now, they ask you a whole bunch of questions just to see how your mental state is, to see if the state of the world is causing you to be depressed. And because antidepressant prescriptions, according to my doctor, have gone through the roof because people can't deal. And perhaps the best thing to do is just turn the tube off, which we do. We don't.
The medical community makes money off of all this stuff.
Oh,
too.
I know that, but I'm talking about the cause. The causal aspect of immersing yourself in everything that's going on, and then feeling helpless because you really can't do anything about it. It's like the more concerned you are, the worse the consequences for you because of the weight you feel of helplessness.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, time has just flown by today, Ice Cream Soda.
Yep. Maybe not for the people watching, but
that's pretty funny. That's one of your better ones. That's not bad. So hey, we really would like to thank everybody who was watched, and please do remember to like it and share it and subscribe. And if you would tap the bell icon on your channel so that just to make sure that you get notifications for when the channel is going to be on. And thus far we've been pretty faithful. I think every Thursday we've been here on time and spend a reasonable amount of time, and we do enjoy it. But also, anybody from a streamer or other commentators in the future, if there's folks that would like to speak with us or speak to or have on, we would welcome that opportunity as well. So feel free to share our stuff with anyone you think might be interested and would like to join in. So I guess until next Thursday, we will say goodbye, and we'll see you then. Thank you.